Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines.
You join our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And I will never, ever stop. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Good evening, Team Trump. I'm Lara Trump, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to another episode of Team Trump Online, your source for real facts in a world of fake news. Tonight, we'll hear from three patriots working with President Trump to put Americans first. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa, Representative Peter Stauber from Minnesota's 8th District, and Representative Michael Bost from Illinois' 12th District. So without further delay, let's get started. Our first special guest is Iowa Senator Joni Ernst, a retired lieutenant colonel in the Iowa Army National Guard, who went from serving our nation in uniform to serving Iowa on Capitol Hill. Senator Ernst, welcome to Team Trump Online.
Thank you, Lara. I'm glad to be with you, glad to be supporting our president.
Well, you've been working with the president to keep Americans safe and healthy throughout this pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about the situation on the ground in Iowa and how you've been working with the president?
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm working very hard with the president to ensure that our farmers are being heard, that our child care agencies have the support that they need. All of our small businesses are being supported through the work we have done with the president. And of course, always making sure that our healthcare workers and those on the front lines have the necessary equipment. And it has been a hard time in Iowa. But because we have such strong leadership coming from the White House, we are making it through.
Yeah, and we all should remember that message. We all will make it through. This will come to an end, and your state is so lucky to have you working alongside our president to make sure that we all get through this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about something that you recently did. You recently called to end taxpayer dollars that have gone to China's Wuhan lab, which sits at the center, really, of this global outbreak. Can you expand a little bit for us on this effort and those who have joined you in this call to action?
Yes, I think this is a worldwide concern. We know that these wet markets located in China are very unhealthy, they're unsanitary, and a springboard for all kinds of bad types of activities that are now affecting folks around the globe. So, of course, we want to make sure that we can shut these markets down. We would love to see China do that. But in the absence of that, what we should do is make sure that American taxpayer dollars are not funding activities in those wet markets. Again, inhumane, unhealthy, unsanitary. We should not be paying for those types of activities.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for your leadership in this area, because this is something that I've heard about for a long time, the wet markets, and I've been a big advocate forever, really, of shutting them down. And now we see all the more reason to do so, because it really is a serious threat to the health and safety of every single human being in the world when these things are allowed to remain open. So I support you 100% in that. We know the president's top priority, Senator Ernst, is the health and safety of the American people. Now that we're seeing new cases and hospitalizations in former hotspots like New York flatten and decrease, Americans really are so eager to get back to work, to get back to normal life. Senator Ernst, you're on the president's task force to reopen the economy. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you're working with the president to make sure that Americans can safely return to work.
Yes, Iowans are ready to get back to work. They are anxious to do so, to support all of the great activity. And so we're in steady movement trying to reopen the economy and get everybody back to work. And everybody knows that Iowa feeds and fuels the world, the entire world. And so one great example of how we are moving forward with opening the economy and doing that in a safe way is by working with the president to reopen our meat packing facilities. And so again, working with the president to make sure that those essential workers have the equipment that they need to resume their jobs safely and get America back on track.
Well, it's so important. So we appreciate everything you're doing, fighting for your state of Iowa and fighting for all of us here in America. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Senator Ernst. As the first female combat veteran to serve in the U.S. Senate, you are such an inspiration. You're a fighter, you're a patriot, and we appreciate everything you do every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to be with you. Take care. Stay safe and stay strong.
Right back at you. All right. Thank you so much to Senator Ernst, and thank you for your great service to this great country. Again, we really appreciate it. Now, everybody stay right where you are. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes. No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't. We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Team Trump Online. Joining us next, we're so excited to have Congressman Pete Stauber and Mike Bost. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to get you on. And Congressman Stauber, I want to start with you. You've been fighting for northern Minnesotans by unleashing the potential of Minnesota's 8th congressional district and generating good-paying jobs to expand opportunities for the men and women you represent. As a former professional hockey player, you're not one to back down from a fight. We know that. And as a retired police lieutenant, you have served your community by protecting your neighbors. Congressman Stauber, welcome to Team Trump Online.
Thank you. It's great to be with you tonight, Laura. Appreciate it.
All right, and next I want to turn to Congressman Bost. You've served Illinois' 12th congressional district. Since 2015, you've been fighting for Southern Illinois' values throughout your career, first in the U.S. military, then as a first responder, then as a job creator, as state rep, and now on Capitol Hill. Congressman Bost, welcome to Team Trump Online.
All right, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we're honored to have both of you on with us tonight. Congressman, you both represent districts that have benefited from the president's America First trade policies. The president promised back on the campaign trail that he would put American workers first after decades of DC elites selling them out to foreign interests. By renegotiating disastrous trade deals in favor of America's workers, the president really has kept that promise. Congressman Bost, I'll start with you. You proudly voted for the USMCA trade deal after Nancy Pelosi finally stopped delaying that crucial vote. 70,000 folks in Illinois depend on free trade with Canada and Mexico. And Congressman Stauber, you joined the president back at the White House in January when he signed the USMCA trade agreement into law. So I'll ask each of you, Congressman Bost, I'll start with you. What has the USMCA done to help farmers and workers in your district after decades of disastrous the NAFTA deal?
Well, what we're going to see is we're going to see the market swing open. And what we're going to also see is we're going to see jobs that are coming home. And Actually, the president did that even before USMCA, which it was when he went to use what's known as a trade promotion authority to pass 232, which put the tariffs on China in the first place to draw them back. The problem is that Nancy Pelosi not slowed the process up of moving the USMCA. We would have probably got to deal with China a lot faster. But the president himself is the one who woke up. Now, understand this trade promotion authority has been in the president's power since Roosevelt, but yet it took Donald Trump coming into the point and realizing after we'd lost thousands of jobs in Granite City in my district, he put in the 232, and the week after that, 800 of those jobs came back, and the other 200 to 300 came back after that.
Wow. Well, we had heard that those jobs were lost and they were never coming back to the United States of America by the previous administration. So how refreshing to have them back and to have a president who's fighting for every American. Representative Stauber, I'll give you a chance to respond.
Well, I think, Laura, the USMCA is a great agreement. The countries of Mexico and Canada, they're good trading partners. And the president was not going to allow us to have a trade deficit any longer. Free and fair trade, protecting the American miner, manufacturer, farmer, small businessman and woman, I think is incredibly important. I was proud to be at the White House when he signed that. I do want to follow up on what Congressman Bost talked about, the 232 steel tariffs. Listen, the country of China has been trying to put our miners' unemployment permanent by putting cheap steel on our shores. China is cheap, brittle. They use, they deploy child labor, no environmental standards and no labor standards. We can do it best here in northern Minnesota. And that's why those 232 steel tariffs were extremely important. And Mike talked about Granite City. We talk about northern Minnesota and the miners, the importance of our jobs and the strategic importance of our steel making. It's still a critical national security interest. And by the way, all the steel that's made this great country, 60% of the iron ore that comes out of here helps, or the iron ore that comes out of here makes 60% of the steel. Northern Minnesota, the Iron Range matters in our steel making, and the president understands that, and he's been fighting with us, and I stand with him on protecting our steel industry and our miners.
You know, we're seeing right now in the midst of coronavirus why it's so important that we are able here in the United States of America to manufacture things ourselves. We never want to find ourselves, Congressman, in another situation like we have found ourselves in during the time of coronavirus. So both of you are exactly right when you're talking about this 232 tariff. This is something that the president has really championed. And to both of your points, this is something that's really important to making sure that we're able to manufacture aluminum and steel here in our own country, because I don't think people appreciated before this president how important it was to be able to do those things at home, to bring those jobs back to the United States, to make a quality product. Can you explain, Congressman Bost, more about how this particular tariff, 232, has helped specifically your district?
Well, let me explain. I told you about the jobs that came back. But the thing that's vitally important, understand what 232 does. 232 is about the security of our nation for national security reasons. So working with Secretary Roth, the president did a great job of identifying two areas. One, the steel that is made at Granite City is the steel that's used in oil production with tubing and for research, and also then for receiving and drilling to get to the oil production. Without it, we would have been dependent on Korea and China for that steel. Also in 232 was the tariff for aluminum, but also there's a special wire. And we were down to one plant. Now, why is that wire so special? That wire goes in every transformer in the world. Our electric grid would have been dependent on China. How much, as you mentioned, we have realized through this pandemic, we're dependent on China for drugs. We're dependent on them for for safety equipment, for all kinds of things. What the president realized early on was we can't be dependent on other nations. We have to have our products here. And he uses these tariffs and the other laws that he has in his power to reach out and understand what business is all about. That's the advantage of having this president. He's the one that really understands business, and he knows how to bring somebody to a table to negotiate a deal. And just in a recent interview that he did, he explained that in great detail. The tariffs that he uses is one of the best levers he has with arguing with other countries to make them come around to understand that, yes, we want trade, but we want fair trade, and he understands that.
Yeah, he does. Congressman Stauber, the Section 232 tariff has also been very beneficial for your district. Tell the viewers at home what this tariff has done for manufacturing jobs in your state.
Well, it's critically important. I dropped a bill called Securing America's Critical Mineral Supply Chain Act. What that says is we need to be more self-reliant. And Laura, northern Minnesota, we are a mineral-rich district. We can be that district that has value and added national security. We have iron ore that we put into taconite pellets, makes our steel once it's melted down. We have copper, nickel. We have the biggest copper nickel find in the world. And we also have those platinum metals, those critical minerals that we use in our everyday life. So northern Minnesota in particular can play a strategic role, Laura, in our national security interests. And I'm really, really excited that President Trump understands this, and he knows that we in northern Minnesota can supply those critical minerals and have it as we all want, mined, manufactured, and made in America.
Yep, that is exactly right. And listen, this president has been talking about these things since well before he ever decided to run for any office. He realized long ago how important this was. And it's funny, whenever you look at the Democrats who fight him every step of the way, I think they're all now, although they'll never admit it, realizing that this president was right about so many of the things specifically like this that he's been talking about for so long. So thank you both for your great responses on that. We're going to take one last commercial break, so everybody stick around for more Team Trump Online. We'll be right back.
We turn now to that $350 billion fund to help small businesses and its workers get through the shutdown.
It will be up to Congress to restock it.
But Democrats blocking that move this morning.
They asked for $250 billion in 48 hours. I said, well, I don't think so. They objected, and I congratulate the Senate Democrats.
Speaker Pelosi, what are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate candy.
Thousands have been forced to wait for hours at food banks all across the country.
This is
my
chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. We just got it restocked with the ice cream.
You don't want to eat up everything all at one time.
I can't do it much longer. I'm trying so hard.
We were, shall we say, enjoying.
Having to admit that, we're starving, and
I like it better than anything else.
Taping this segment, there are 22 million people out of work.
This specific program is about stopping job losses today.
This is hurting people bad.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but
right now it's survival move. You don't know where that next something else is going to come from.
I don't know what I would have done if ice cream were not invented. I just wonder.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Team Trump Online. Representative Pete Stauber of Minnesota and Representative Mike Bost of Illinois are back with us to talk trade and how the president is a supporter of free, fair, and reciprocal trade deals. So what we've discussed is how the president has put America's workers and farmers first with his renegotiated trade deals. Now we want to turn our attention to Joe Biden and his bad record on trade. So whenever there's been a terrible trade deal that has harmed America's workers in this country, Joe Biden most likely has been on the side that negotiated that deal. In his decades of public office, Joe Biden has sold out Americans time and time again. Congressman, Biden's support for the 1994 North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA, which cost millions of American jobs and put American workers last in global trade negotiations. Congressman Stauber, the Obama-Biden trade policy was one of the status quo. How would you describe the trade policy under the Obama-Biden tariff? And why didn't that administration invoke the 232 tariff like we just discussed?
Well, in fact, the Obama administration should have invoked the 232 tariff to save the American jobs, especially the mining industry. And we look at, I remember that President Obama said the mining and manufacturing jobs are gone and they're not coming back. That can't be further than the truth. We're seeing right now with President Trump's policies, America first, our jobs matter. That we can bring them back to our shores and do it right. And I'll just give you an example. We not only mine and make steel in this country, but we do it the cleanest, the safest, using the best environmental standards and the best labor standards. If we truly want to reduce carbon in the atmosphere, we should not buy one more ounce of steel from China.
Wow, that's a great point. I don't think many people have appreciated that, but that's exactly right. Congressman Bost, Joe Biden has repeatedly sided with China throughout his 47 years. That's right, 47 years in public office. So why does Biden continuously choose China over the United States? I just don't understand.
It's happened again and again and again. Remember, those 1,000 jobs I talked about earlier in the earlier segment, those 1,000 jobs went away during the reign of Biden. And it was during that reign that they thought, oh, no, China's not a big threat. But, you know, when I first went to Congress, which was right at the end, towards the end of the last 2 years of the Biden or Obama-Biden presidency, we tried to explain, and everybody was trying to explain, that China was the real enemy. And it isn't just an enemy as far as taking up arms. It's taking up and aggressively coming after our economy, aggressively coming out after our health. Aggressively, we see it now. But the reality is they kept their head in the sand. Biden was right in the middle of keeping his head in the sand. And NAFTA, you brought that up. Think about the amount of jobs that have left since NAFTA. And he voted for NAFTA, by the way.
Yep.
As a senator, he voted for NAFTA. Greatest thing. He thought, oh, and how great it is. Well, that was poor judgment again. I can list the amount of manufacturers that have left my district. I was very young when that was passed. And whenever I've watched all of those jobs be moved to Mexico or be moved out of this United States, guess what they're doing now? They're coming back. Why? Yeah. Because of our president's tax policy and because of our president's trade policies.
Yeah, it's
Biden
actually
really doesn't understand. All he understands is the lifetime that he's lived as a member elected to the Senate.
Mm-hmm, that's right. He and Barack Obama, don't forget, they told us that you would have to have a magic wand to get those jobs to come back to this country. I guess all along, President Trump has had the magic wand. We just didn't know it. Joe Biden has said that China isn't our enemy, and we all remember him saying that they're not bad folks. Biden continues to show where his allegiance lies. It's with China. So, Congressman, can you tell our viewers why it is so important that we have a president that will always stand up to China the way that this president has?
Well, I think that, Lara, you're looking at since the early 70s, the communist country of China has tried to take down the United States, not only militarily, but economically. And right now we're seeing the self-reliant on other nations, and some of them, and many of them are adversarial to us. We're seeing now China not sending some of the pharmaceuticals, the masks being made over there. So what we need to do is as a nation, once we get through this, and we're going to get through it, we're going to become stronger, more resilient, and more self-reliant than we've ever been before. And we're seeing right now that we can make and manufacture in this country. And we are not going to allow these manufacturing, mining, ag jobs, and small businessmen and women to have to compete against the dictatorship of China. They are a communist country. They have been trying to take us down for years. And this is really a wake-up call, Lara, for our country. We are going to look back and change things, and it's going to be an immediate change in my mind. We can no longer not have the self-reliance and the self-determination in our own hands. We're not going to allow that to happen, and I really think that's a bipartisan issue too. We are going to be self-reliant, more self-reliant than we've ever been. We want our future in our own hands, and that's exactly what this president is pushing for.
Yeah, Representative Bost, I'll give you an opportunity. Why is this so important that we stand up to China?
Well, here's what you need to know. China was allowed into the World Trade Organization about 30 years ago, thinking that they would wake up to the fact of how wonderful capitalism is. They didn't wake up to that because they're imperialists. They can't help it. So they're trying, and they play for the long game. Now we've had administration after administration that hasn't paid attention to what they're doing through trade policies in taking our jobs. Not only taking our jobs, but then also owning quite often companies in the United States where they have control over them. Also, the concern that we have is their stealing of the intellectual property. All of these things they're doing that we know that this administration is going to be very, very wise in putting a block there, because without firing a shot, they could take us over. The reality is they also are building a Navy. We're keeping an eye on that. And they're building islands in areas that are supposed to be international waters. So they are our concern. And it is wise of the president to pay attention, and he and his administration is doing just that. And we've got to do it for the long term because they're playing for the long game.
Congressman, I want to thank you both for being with us tonight. And the final question, the final thing I want to discuss, this president has been right on trade. He renegotiated decades-old trade deals and got tough on China. This is in contrast with former Vice President Joe Biden's support for trade deals that didn't put American workers first. So, Congressman, what messages would you like to leave with the American people tonight? Representative Bost, I'll start with you.
Very simple. We have a president that knows and understands not just the economy, but world trade. He knows and understands the importance of putting America first. In contrast, you have someone who's running on the Democrat side who has always been involved with very, very bad deals. Why? Because he's a politician, not someone who understands business. We've had plenty of politicians. We don't need them anymore for president. We've got the president we need, and he understands what needs to be done to make America the country and the world power that it was, and it's going to be, and is being again. And so he's standing up to that, make America great again. Now we want to keep America great.
That is right. Representative Stauber, how about from you? Anything you want to leave with the folks with tonight?
Yeah, Laura, thanks for having me on tonight. I will just say this, that, the president and Joe Biden on trade, there's stark differences. I mean, it's like black and white. Our president knows that the American farmer, miner, manufacturing, small business man or woman can compete with anybody in the world on a level and fair playing field. And I think that I'll leave this with your viewers. We all live in the greatest country on earth that we get to call home. And there's not a challenge that the American people can't overcome together. And I'm very, very proud to not only be with you tonight, but be a representative in Congress. It's just such a blessing. And I love our state of Minnesota, and so does the president. And I'm looking forward to him being here, campaigning, and really supporting the men and women, the working class of Minnesota.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you both so much for being with us tonight. And we appreciate so much you standing up and fighting for this country as well. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Senator Ernst and, of course, to Congressman Stauber and Bost for sharing their insights with us this evening. And thanks to all of you at home for joining us here tonight. While President Trump and his team spend day and night fighting for us, we need to keep fighting for him. If you'd like to get involved with Team Trump, go to donaldjtrump.com or download the official Trump 2020 app from the App Store on your iPhone or the Google Play Store on Android. I'm Lara Trump, coming to you from my home in New York, encouraging you to stay safe throughout this crisis. Thanks for joining us, everybody.